healthy in all the other ways. Just, I'm sure too, I would say, yes, the birth control was absolutely the cause of it, but then it was like after you got off the birth control, you were in a very traumatic time just from breaking up and all of the things happening in your life, and then you've still had traumatic stuff, you know, and then it's like just a lot. So it's like you've got to give your body time to just like cope, and you've got to take that time, because it's not just going to be the physical, it's going to be the mental and the emotional too.
This video is not meant to scare anybody. This is just my experience and something that I've been dealing with for the last like year and a half that has so consumed my life that now I'm to a point where I have to talk about it, because it's been something that I've been holding within myself for so long, and I just need to talk about it. So here I am. Let's go back in time a little bit. So March 2021, I got on birth control. The only reason I got on birth control was because I had a boyfriend. No other reason. My period hormones, all A+ shape. I went from having the most trackable period. I knew exactly when it was gonna come every month. It was like clockwork every single month. When I was weighing my options, I ultimately decided to go with the Nexplanon birth control implant, because I had some friends that were on that, and that's also what my doctor recommended me. She said if I was her own daughter, that's what she would have recommended. I got on the Nexplanon, got the arm implant. I immediately started having issues. I went from having, like I said, a totally normal cycle to having 2 periods a month that were super heavy. I was just constantly bleeding all the time, and my body just didn't accept it very well. Fast forward to that November, I became single. That is when I completely lost my period. I went from having it twice a month to not having it at all. And I wasn't super concerned that I had lost my period, because my doctor said that that was what was gonna happen, and my friends also were having the same experience. Fast forwarding again to May, that's when I moved to LA. It was one of my first priorities when I got here was to go and get that out. It was like one of the first errands that I ran when I first moved here was I went to Planned Parenthood and I got it removed. And the girl, like the nurse, told me, you should have your period back in like a month to 3 months max. I think at that point I was so used to not having a period that I really wasn't stressed about it or thinking about it that much. And I didn't really realize how much time started to pass without me having my period back. And then I did realize, and I was like, oh shit, I haven't had a period in like 6 months, and I have had this birth control out for 6 months. And I started doing a bunch of research on Reddit and looking up other people's experiences, and most people said that they got their period back within a month to 3 months. After doing a bunch of research, I decided that I wanted to take a more holistic route to figure this out, because not that I don't believe in Western medicine by any means, but I wanted to find the root cause of what was going on and not just take some sort of prescription, or I was really scared that they were gonna recommend me to go back on birth control, which is what messed me up in the first place. So I found a doctor here in LA, and I started seeing her late 2022. After doing a lot of blood tests, a lot of other tests, taking a lot of supplements, so many things, I did finally get my period back for 2 months. So a year ago, January and February 2023, I did have 2 periods, and I was so excited, and I finally thought like my life is back on track. Like, oh my God, this thing that I've been so heavily stressed about for well over a year now is finally, like, I don't have to worry about it, and I was so happy. And that was the last time I had a period. So, I mentioned in one of my previous videos that 2023 was just a really stressful year for me, and I think that was a really big part of why I didn't get a continuous normal cycle back, was because my stress levels were so high. And I've just never been good at coping with stress ever in my whole entire life. I know this is like a thing for everybody, but stress manifests extremely physically for me. Like whenever I get stressed, I get really bad breakouts. Like I've had times where I've had full on like body acne because I've been so stressed. So 2023, I just had a really hard time taking care of myself just in general. Like I was in such survival mode, and then trying to fix this really big issue on top of that, it just wasn't happening. And I wasn't consistent with the blood work, and stuff like this is so diligent that you have to be so on top of it all the time, or else you're just wasting your money because you don't actually know if anything that you're doing is working, or at least in my case, that's how it was. Now entering this year, 2024, I decided at the beginning of the year that I really was gonna work really hard on getting my period back and just fixing my hormones. And I decided that I needed to do this in Utah because it was so expensive to figure it out here. I got a blood work panel done, or like a full hormone blood work panel done here in LA, and it costed me $2,000 to go faint at my doctor's office. It costed me $2,000. That was just not something that I could keep up with anymore here. In February of this year, I went back to Utah right before Fashion Week, and I got my blood work done, fainted again. My poor mother was probably so mortified. I don't know why. I have always had issues with fainting. One time I hit my funny bone really hard and I passed out. Scared the fuck out of my boyfriend. So I got my blood work done, went to Fashion Week, was in New York, and I got a really scary call from my doctor. She basically told me that my body has already gone through menopause and that my ovarians don't work anymore. I'm in ovarian failure. My estrogen levels, my progesterone levels are all literally zero. The way that you could see it on the test, there was, you know, like a certain range, and like all of the markers fall in a certain range, and mine were all in like the post-menopause range. I have cried about this so many times, a countless amount of times, because it's just so stressful knowing that something is wrong with you and you try so hard to fix it. And obviously these sorts of things take a lot of time. One thing that my mom has told me that I have really had to remind myself over and over and over, because I am such an impatient person and I want everything to be fixed so quickly. And it's so hard when it's an internal thing that you can't see. Like, she always compares it to like a broken arm. Like, you're gonna have a cast on your arm. It's gonna take time to heal. But it's just, it feels so different when it's inside your body and you can't actually see. So obviously, as of right now, even, not that I want to, I actually don't ever wanna have children. This is something that I talk about with myself all the time. I don't plan on ever having kids. Who knows, that could change. But the fact that I don't even have a choice, like if I wanted to have children right now, I couldn't, is horrifying. It keeps me up at night. And I think my whole point of making this video is that exactly. I think to myself all the time, like, what is wrong with me? Like, why have I just been so unhappy the last, pretty much since I moved to LA? Because I'm like, I love LA. I'm so glad that I moved here. Like, truly, I really do love it here. And I'm like, oh, it's because my body literally doesn't work, and the amount of symptoms that I have because my hormone imbalance is so severe. I basically just feel like a stranger in my own body. And I follow a lot of the wellness girlies, like a lot of wellness girlies on TikTok that have gone through really similar issues of like being diagnosed with PCOS, which I also was technically diagnosed with, and just having all sorts of similar issues. And so many of them are like on the other side where they've like put all of their symptoms into remission and they're like totally normal now and have a normal cycle. And it's definitely inspiring to see all of that. But at the same time, it almost like makes me feel even worse because it feels so unrealistic and so far away from me. Being in this tunnel and not knowing if there's a light at the end, if this is something that's ever going to get fixed. I don't want to say no doctors have given me answers. Honestly, it's been really hard with having my doctor here in LA and my doctor also in Utah, because they both have told me completely different things. My doctor here in LA told me I don't have PCOS and that I don't have a thyroid issue. And then my other Utah doctor told me I do have PCOS and I do have a thyroid issue. Anyways, going back to what I was saying about the wellness girlies, there's this one girl who I follow who talks all about like her whole thing as like returning home to your body. And when I heard her say that, I was like, that's exactly what it is. I literally feel like a stranger and an alien in my own body. I just don't feel good 90% of the time. Like, I wake up immediately feeling like I could go back to sleep because I'm so exhausted and so tired. And I know so many other people go through health things, and I know there are so many worse health things that people could be going through, but it just shocked me. I talked about this a little bit on my Instagram story for the first time because, like I said, I just have been so like consumed by this, and it's just something that I didn't ever feel comfortable sharing. And then I finally talked about it a little bit on Instagram and literally had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages of girls telling me that they're going through something similar, that birth control also really fucked them up, and that they have hormonal imbalance, and that they have PCOS, and that they have all of these different things. And I was just like, fuck, like how are so many women struggling with this and just don't have answers? Like, I have read every single book, I feel like, and listened to every single podcast and seen every single TikTok about how to fix what foods to eat and what foods not to eat and what products to use and what supplements to buy and just all the different shit. I know it takes time, but how much time? Like, I'm 21. I want to have a sex drive again, and I just want to feel good in my own body. I guess that's why I'm sharing this and making this video, because I just want people to also know that they're not alone, because it's literally one of the most isolating feelings ever. Like, every single time I see a TikTok about like cycle sync with me, my workouts and my eating, it makes me want to burst into tears, because I would just literally die to have a normal period, like a normal 21-year-old girl. I've seen a gynecologist and nothing was wrong there. I am looking into seeing an endocrinologist. It's just so expensive. Everything is just so expensive, and insurance doesn't cover a lot. Which, don't get me started on insurance. Insurance is one of the biggest scams in the whole entire world. Every single time. I'll die on that hill. I don't know. Long story short, this has all made me really insecure and feel really bad about myself. My life has just changed a lot in the last year, because I've had to readjust so many different things, like my workouts, my diet, everything, and just my life in general. And I feel like kind of documenting that will help me, it will just push me to be more consistent, and it will motivate me to be more consistent, because I have a very all or nothing mentality. And so I will be really good with like my whole regimen for like a week, and then full on just like throw it all out the window and just like eat a bunch of shit and make myself feel horrible. And then I'm like, oh, I'll start again in 3 days and after this holiday or whatever it is. I was thinking the other day about when you want something to change in your life and you want some sort of results, and time is a big factor into that. It's like you have to wait and you have to have patience for the results to come. How do you not wish away your life every day just waiting for the next day, because you are just getting so impatient and you're so focused on this one goal that you have? But when time is such a big factor into it, it's like how do you stay present in today and not worry about tomorrow and not think about tomorrow and the next following weeks and whatever it is? I was watching Claudia Saluski's, I think it was her March vlog, and she was talking about how one of her goals for the year was to just like savor every day and to like not wish away every day and just really stay present. And I was like, fuck, I do such the opposite. Like every single day, it's like I can't wait for tomorrow, because I just want my issues to be fixed, and time is such a big factor into that. And I don't know, I've just been thinking about that a lot, and I feel like I am in a weird state with that right now. Like I'm like, oh, like I'm gonna start making videos again, like once this issue is fixed and once I feel good about myself and once I lose weight and just like all this other shit. And I'm just over it. And I just want to live my life today and not constantly be thinking about the future, because it's so exhausting. And the ruminating thoughts about all of this is just absolutely insane. And I'm really tired of it. And I just want to feel present and live my 21-year-old life in LA. And I'm such a lucky girl. And I'm so happy to be where I am, and I'm so grateful for the health that I do have. I think that's another really big thing that this has brought a lot of perspective for me about, just having gratitude to like that my heart still beats, my fucking legs still work. It's corny. I don't give a fuck. It's just something that's been helping me a lot. I think that's it. I just wanted to share this with you guys and say thank you to anybody who is also sharing their story with me. I appreciate it more than you will ever know. I knew that a lot of girls were struggling with this issue, but just hearing your guys' experiences personally was just like actually life-changing. This is my supplement sludge that I drink twice a day. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. And again, thanks for sharing your stories with me. I would love to hear more. And if anybody has any advice, let me know. I'm going back home to Utah soon to get more blood work done, so hopefully there will be some improvement. But I don't know, just taking it one day at a time and trying not to wish my life away. Okay, I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Peace, love.